Welcome, collectors and diecast enthusiasts. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Diecast Emporium. I'm your host, Tommy, and I could not be more happy to finally bring you my review on this special Matchbox Thank You Heroes set. So this actually has a really good story behind it. I'll kind of do the Reader's Digest version, the short version of this story. This set has been out now for well over a year. Mattel and Matchbox released this in late April, the early part of May 2020, very early on in the COVID-19 pandemic. The story behind this set is they wanted to have a representation of each vehicle that would correspond or represent all of the different first responders or frontline heroes, quote-unquote, that we would relate and talk about during the pandemic. So we have a news helicopter for the news networks. We have a grocery store delivery vehicle for obviously our grocery store workers, a police car for our police officers, a garbage truck for our sanitation workers, obviously a ambulance for our paramedics. We have a package delivery vehicle for Amazon, UPS, FedEx, that kind of thing, and then our mobile hospital for representing our ER technicians, our nurses, hospital staff. So each one of these vehicles represents all of the frontline workers that have been on the front line battling the COVID-19 pandemic for well over a year now. The good news is that here, when I'm filming this review and this video in the middle part of May 2021, we are on the back end of the pandemic. We can see light at the end of the tunnel. Much of the population has received both vaccinations. A lot of people have returned to work with some job openings opening up and job offerings happening, so that's all great news. Hospitalizations are down. Cases are down in many states. Many states and many countries are opening back up so people can go on vacation. So again, in recent history, it's a much different story now than it was 12, 14 months ago. As for the Thank You Hero set by Mattel, it's not only a piece of history, it not only has some great vehicles in it, but the funds from purchasing this Thank You Hero set went to the First Responders First Fund. And as you see on the back, I'll read this quickly to you. I know it's a little bit far away, but it says, "Thank you for committing yourself to the well-being of others, for knowing and doing what it takes to save lives every day, for inspiring us all to be better. Hashtag Thank You Heroes." Purchasing this product helps support the First Responders First Fund to provide supplies, equipment, and resources to help protect our heroes, their families, and their patients. The Matchbox logo, the First Responders First logo. And again, just a small warning down here indicating that this has small parts and it's not recommended for anyone under the age of 3. The rest of the box design has Thank You Heroes on the top, hashtag Thank You Heroes on both flaps. And while we're talking about the box design, this is obviously catered towards the adult collector because the way Mattel designed this is it has these flip-open style flaps, which I personally appreciate because you can take the models out, you can take the different vehicles out, you can display them, and then you can put them back in the box for safekeeping or storage without destroying or defacing the overall value of the set, because all you have to do is just cut a couple pieces of tape and it slides out, and you'll see me do that in a minute. Now, I purchased this from my friends at jcarddiecast.com. You will see a link to purchase this down in the comment section. And again, at the time that I am filming this review, I believe he does still have a few of these in stock. They cost $45, which your initial first impression would be that's kind of a lot of money for a Matchbox set. But again, please bear in mind that it's going to a great cause with the First Responders First Foundation. So let's go ahead and crack this open and do that right now. I have already cut the tabs on both sides. Save us just a little bit of time. So here is the Skybusters helicopter, and that's another cool thing, is that, not only do you have 5 regular Matchbox vehicles, but you also have, an aircraft, which is part of the Skybusters series, and then you also have a real working rigs in the mobile hospital. And we're going to get an in-depth look at each of these when we come back from break in a minute. But there's a look at the helicopter. Here is the International E-Star representing our grocery store workers. You can see that there. Here's our Ford believe this is an Explorer Interceptor, representing our law enforcement officials, our LEOs. Here's our garbage truck, representing our sanitation workers. Here's our Ford ambulance, representing our paramedics. Here's our delivery truck, representing our delivery workers, delivering supplies to our houses each and every day. And last but not least, here's our Scania mobile hospital, mobile command center, obviously representing our hospital staff. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the spin table out, and we'll take a look at each one of these vehicles individually. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this short break. Welcome back, everyone. Let's take a look at each one of these vehicles in no particular order. The first one we'll take a look at is the news helicopter. Now, I'm not going to get too political on this channel. I really try to stray away from that. But me personally, I'm not so sure that the news media would technically be considered heroes. I think the word heroes gets thrown around really, really loosely, especially nowadays. But it's nice to see that they have representation in this set, providing us, whether it's fake news or not, providing us information on what's going on. So the helicopter itself, it's not really based on any real-life helicopter, at least in my opinion, but it does have plastic skids, a plastic tail section with rear rotors that are encased. It says, "Thank you, Heroes, News 10, a aircraft number on the side of it, Matchbox up here, and the rest just has different decorations on it. The blades do spin, as you can see there, which allows for plenty of play value for your youngster or adults alike that want to display it in different dioramas. Very generic paint job, which kind of gets it done, makes it look like it's a real-life Sky News chopper that might be flying around. Again, nice to have it in the set. I think maybe a better representation would have been perhaps maybe an air care helicopter or something like that. Maybe even a military helicopter representing some of our military workers on the front line of the pandemic. But that's just my opinion. I'm not going to get too political, but I think maybe having at least some of the news networks that tend to stray the truth a little bit just to have something to talk about for these 24-hour news networks. Not so sure this was a good move, but again, for kids, we'll try to look past that. All right, next one we'll take a look at. This is absolutely part of our Frontline Hero sets. Here we have the sanitation truck or the garbage truck. Generic cab, a cab over flat nose cab, so it's not really based on any particular truck. One improvement could have been that perhaps it could have maybe had a Mack flat nose cab on it or something of that nature on it, perhaps. But the garbage body itself is a pretty realistic tooling. The cab itself, die-cast. The body is plastic. You have your DOT striping, which adds a lot of detail to it. The black part is your trash compactor. That has been represented well. It reads, "Thank you, Heroes" on the side. Again, Matchbox on the door. Nice detail on this truck. The choice of colors, again, pretty appropriate, although perhaps maybe a white cab and a green trash body would have been a little bit more realistic in the waste management colors. Moving on, we have our International E-Star electric van. This is representing our grocery store workers. And it reads, "Thank you, Heroes, fresh and free delivery from your local grocery store." Now, as many of you know, many of the grocery stores started during the pandemic, either curbside pickup or in some cases through apps like DoorDash and Uber. You could have your groceries delivered to you in the comfort of your home if you weren't necessarily comfortable going out in public. So I think this was a good choice. I believe there was another YouTuber out there that suggested maybe having maybe just like a Honda Accord or potentially maybe a Toyota Tacoma smaller pickup truck, or maybe even a Toyota small car for our DoorDash delivery. That would have been, I guess that would have been a nice inclusion. Again, categorizing as a hero, not so sure, in my opinion. but definitely our grocery store workers out dealing with the public and having to face people not wearing masks and coughing all over them. Just some things that I had witnessed personally in a very borderline state that I reside in. Yeah, I would definitely have to categorize them as heroes for everything they had to put up with and deal with. All right. Speaking of delivery vehicles, how about this one? Matchbox calls this express delivery. It is based on a UPS or specifically a FedEx delivery vehicle. This one reads, MBX delivery, thank you, heroes. A bunch of the small lettering, insured, global tracking, secure international customs. So, nice detail on this. One of the smaller aspects that I really like is the fact that they have the orange outline on the wheel that matches the MBX delivery font. Something small. Also has a fleet number of 201 at the top left on the back. Outlined rear lights, and I think the rear door does open. If you are patient. Yes, it does. So you can open the rear door. So if you have a little minifigure or something, you can pose them unloading or loading the back of your delivery truck. All right, let's get into what everybody universally will agree are our first responders and our heroes. Let's start off with our 2016 Ford Interceptor utility, our police car. It says, number 12, working together with the community. Thank you, heroes. MBX Matchbox Patrol. Thank you, heroes, on the roof as well. Car 12. Obvious choice to have a police representation in the set. Obviously, 2020, aside from COVID, was a very tumultuous year for law enforcement, especially in this country, but everywhere around the world. So, very nice to have a police car representation. It's interesting when you look at the history of law enforcement, and particularly the vehicles that they use. When you talk about the last 30 or 40 years, from the thinking of going from large land yachts and then transitioning to, Ford Crown Victorias, and now many departments have these Ford Explorer SUVs. It's interesting when you study that kind of thing, and especially, many of you guys know my background professionally is in law enforcement. It's interesting that the thought and the mindset changes over the years. And the Ford Explorer is universally loved by law enforcement for the most part. So a perfect fit to go with this casting. Has a nice guard on the front of it for, of course, pit maneuvers. Nice trailer hitch at the back. And the light bar is part of the window casting. But, tip I like to give out, for those that may be interested, maybe not with this set. You might want to leave this set just as is for, collectability value, but if you have other police cars, particularly dollar ones off the pegs by Matchbox, with some paint pens, you can highlight those, bring out the light bars. They tend to look a whole lot better. All right. How about our Ford? Actually, this isn't a Ford. I stand corrected. This is an International ambulance. I've been calling it a Ford ambulance the entire time. I am mistaken. You're allowed to have a mistake here and then. Every now and then. This is a International ambulance. I think this is the TerraStar. It doesn't specify, but I believe that is a TerraStar cab. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, and that is your right. So this represents our paramedics, obviously the first line of defense in dealing with the COVID pandemic. One of my good friends, and I won't go into too much detail here, but one of my very good friends of the past 10 years, she is a paramedic in my local area, and her stories that she has shared with me make the hair on your arms stand up. So I have a completely different view of this whole situation than many other people have. But turning our attention back to the casting, which is what you guys care about, thank you, heroes. Ambulance, fire, and EMS, R1, presumably for Rescue 1. I love this. I love this casting. I'm almost embarrassed that I've been calling it a Ford this entire time. But it is an International. There's what the base looks like. International ambulance. Of course, the camera is not going to focus, but that's all right. It just reads International Ambulance, 2018, made in Thailand. The back doesn't have a whole lot of detail other than what the casted-in details are with the two rear doors, some lights. Again, this is another perfect casting to add some more of your personal details with some paint pens and such. All right, let's finish with the Real Working Rigs addition to this set. This is, and the correct pronunciation is Scania, even though you may think it's Scania with the A, it is Scania. It's the Tactical Command Center, but for this set, they are using it as a mobile hospital, which actually, in hindsight, maybe this would have been a better pop-up testing site, although maybe Mattel wasn't willing to go that far when the set was released, obviously. Again, when we talk about everything with this pandemic, it all became political, which is so unfortunate because it shouldn't have been about politics, but whatever. Perhaps this would have been best used as a mobile pop-up testing site for COVID. But nevertheless, thank you, heroes. Tactical Operations Center, mobile hospital. Of course, you have the line on the side, the medical shield there, the heartbeat monitors, which is really cool. Front grille, Scania. Now, Scanias aren't really popular here in North America. In fact, you hardly see any of them unless you put a special order in, but they are extremely popular in Europe. This casting has a radar dish that can fold up, but even cooler than that is the fact that you have extending sides. So once this vehicle is on the site of setting up its little mobile hospital. Of course, these don't want to come out now. Being a little bit difficult here. There we go. I knew we'd get it. So the sides pop out as well. So when this truck is on site, it would, much like a large RV that you may see, the sides extend to give the vehicle a larger footprint and the personnel inside more room to work. Additionally, if you look here, and this part would absolutely is just refusing to come down, but there's a small ladder, maybe you can see, and that would also deploy and drop down just to give better access. So it's really quite a unique rig. I think we saw it in the Real Working Rigs lineup. I think we've seen it once, to my knowledge, and that was it. So maybe it wasn't really popular, but I think in terms of the Thank You Hero set, this was a natural fit if they weren't going to do a fire truck, for example, which perhaps, as I've said before, would have been the best option for a Real Working Rigs truck. So there you go, collectors. That's the entire Matchbox Thank You Heroes set and all of the vehicles and my thoughts on them. I can't say enough how much of an honor it is to be able to afford this set, to be able to do my part to support the First Responders First Fund. Again, if you are interested in purchasing this set for yourself, check out the link in the video's description. It will take you straight to the JCar Diecast website where you can purchase this and almost everything else you can think of Mattel-related. Until next time, I'm Tommy. Thank you all so much for watching. Take a look at the screen right now. You will find a suggested link for more Mattel product reviews. Until next time, take care, be safe, be well. I'll see you in the next review.